Hey, hello. Long time no see. Hey, how are you doing? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm very well. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
How's life treating you?
Huh?
How's life treating you?
I was busy.
Yeah.
Busy with family.
Yeah.
Family and
Good.
work and
Are they
all
well?
that. Yeah, everything is good. Everything is, huh? Yeah, I do. Yeah. Walking a lot. Yeah.
Abbas, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Right.
Well, I'm rusty. You know, I haven't been here for a while. So.
That's all right. You know me, bro. Like, sincere people get a sincere attitude.
Plus, I don't have my phone today. I forgot my phone as well.
That is totally fine. There's no trick question here. Right, so the Quran obviously states that if Allah had so willed, he could adopt from amongst creation anything as a son. Right? You know that verse in the Quran.
Yeah.
Right? And the Quran also states that Allah says to Muhammad, say, O Muhammad, if Allah had had a son, I would have been the first to bow down in worship. Are you aware of that verse?
Yeah.
Right. So here's my question. Why is Allah saying that something created, if it was adopted by Allah, would be worthy of worship?
I think there are two different contexts as far as I remember. One context is talking about in a way like Jesus, begotten son kind of a thing.
Yeah.
If God has son like that one,
Yeah.
that would have been God.
Go on.
In a way, I would have worshipped him. I think the other context is talking about, probably, if I'm not wrong, I don't have phone with me, talking about the pagan view of God. Because pagans believe that God have daughters,
Yeah.
adopted and all that.
Yeah.
So it's addressing two different audiences with two different things.
Right.
One is about the Christian way of God, I would have worshipped.
Yes.
The other God says he could have adopted if he wanted to have, he could have adopted it.
Okay,
it's two different.
Okay, so taking that on board, you've actually doubled your problems, Abbas. Because firstly, the Quran is in error when it addresses Christians. So Christians don't believe that Jesus Christ adopted, we don't believe as Christians that Jesus Christ was adopted by the Father.
Yeah, that's not, I say that passage is not addressing Christians.
Right, okay, so you're saying that's
anybody else.
Right, okay, it's addressing anyone else. But the other verse, which says that if Allah had a son,
It's like
right?
Christians believe.
Yes, if Allah had a son, I would be the first to bow down and worship.
That
But the
means
problem
I
is,
would be God.
right, so here's the thing. These two verses are not mutually exclusive. One can synergize with the other. Because if Allah adopts a son, and therefore Allah has a son, that son is worthy of worship, according to Allah.
Well, I'm saying they are not same synergizing as you're saying.
No, but they
not.
can synergize, can't they? Because one is not exclusive to the other. Because one is saying, if Allah had a son, I would be the first to bow down in worship. And Allah says, if I had wanted to have a son, I could have adopted any of my creatures.
And I'm saying one is...
So why would a creature be worthy of worship?
Okay, let's say synergize. Synergize meaning if God decided to adopt someone, he has given him that authority to become God himself.
Right.
I'm saying that. So even adopted, the adoption of God will not be adoption of like anything
So the
else.
logic of Allah is that Allah can create another God.
But he doesn't.
But that's Allah's logic. Allah's logic is, according to you, that if Allah adopts a created thing as a son, that he has given that son the authority to be God. So that's God creating another God.
That's why I say God is not doing it.
Can God create another God?
So when I say in Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir,
Yeah.
God has power over everything.
Yes.
Meaning whatever matter he decides, he will do it.
Can he create
But
another
he will
God?
never decide that. You know why? The same way the God wouldn't lie. Can he lie? Yes, maybe, but he wouldn't because that's ungodly. So doing that would be ungodly. So we do not believe that would happen. But to make us understand, if that would have been the case, that would have been a God as well.
Now,
But that will never be the case.
as much as I'm tempted to segue now into whether Allah lied about Jesus' crucifixion, I'm not going to get sidetracked. I want to stay on the topic of the debate. But the topic of the debate is that the Quran is saying that Allah could adopt a son.
If.
Yes. No, the if is there. If.
To make us understand.
Right. But the point
That would
is,
have been God.
But the point is, if Allah adopts a son, and what makes him God is that he's giving him the authority of God, then that means that a created thing has been made a God, and that's illogical. So why is
is it
why is there contradictory logic inside Allah's thinking?
Why you telling me there are some things that totally impossible for God to do?
I am saying that that God doesn't create other gods. You can't.
Why not?
Because to create another God means that they're not God, because a created being is one of the attributes of God is that he is uncreated. And so if you are created, you can't be God. But if your
this is a
defense,
philosophy and the kalam kind of a thing, isn't
yeah,
it?
well, you're a Mutazilite, so you've got no problem with
I'm not
philosophy.
Mutazilite. Who says I'm a Muslim?
You've
But
said
I
on
do not-
record you're a
but
Mutazilite.
No, I never said that.
You said that you believe that the Quran is created.
Yeah, but that doesn't make me Mutazilite. I mean, one part of Mutazilite.
I've got a lot of Muslims here who'd call you Mutazilite.
That means that part of Mutazilite, I agree.
Yeah.
There's some parts of Shia says, right? Even something Christian will say, I agree with that, doesn't make me Christian. What I'm saying is,
Agreed, that's fair.
I'm a seeker of truth. So whoever say right, I'll take it. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm a Muslim. I'm neither Sunni, neither Shia. I'm just a Muslim.
Fair enough. So as a Muslim, as an open-minded Muslim who's thinking about things and is sincere in finding the truth, and I actually think, Abbas, you are. Like, we do love you, genuinely.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you've been out socialising.
you too.
Yeah, good. Thanks, bro. Oh,
Maybe you
kiss.
as well.
Let's bring it in. Bring it in. No hatred.
You are my human being,
Brother, amen.
in
And
humanity,
that feeling is reciprocated.
Yeah.
So, but my point to you is this: that inside the Quran, as Allah has demonstrated an argument, Allah has demonstrated illogical thinking, because Allah has suggested that He can create another God worthy of worship by simply adopting them, and that is irrational thinking.
Okay, I'm going to give you a quick answer to that, because as I say, I didn't come prepared
Okay.
for that. But if you want to talk about it next week, I will come next week.
Come
as
back
well.
next week, yes.
Well, quickly I will say, Allah is telling us two things. Nothing is impossible for God. He's telling us that.
Yeah.
Secondly, He's saying to us, is if. He's not going to do that, but to make us understand
Yeah.
that if God is possible, He can do that.
Yeah.
If He does that, that will be God as well.
Yeah.
That's a quick answer I can give, but I know it's not sufficient for you.
But you
let
can
me-
see the irrationality behind that, right? Because a God by attribute is uncreated. If Allah is creating another God, then that is not God. And so anything that Allah adopts as a son shouldn't be worshipped. But Allah is saying to Muhammad that if he had adopted a son, that Muhammad should worship that son, which is shirk. Now, the other problem with your argument, I'll leave you with this thought, Abbas.
Yeah.
The other problem with your argument, Abbas, is that Muhammad participates in the authority of Allah. So that means that Muhammad is godlike. Because Muhammad participates in the authority of Allah. Remember that verse in the Quran that says, when it is not right for a believer to question a matter when it is decided by Allah and the Prophet.
You know what you're doing right now? You're really dragging me into a lot of things, and I can answer that, but I will.
You want to refrain?
Right now.
All right.
Next week, same thing. We'll talk about it. So I'll be more prepared, and
Yeah.
I'll answer you that.
Come and talk to me
Otherwise,
next
this
week.
argument is going to go longer
Yeah.
and longer and longer, and you're going to keep.
Abbas, I want to give you a gift.
So next week we'll talk about this. Yeah, these two questions you
I want to give you a gift, Abbas.
Yeah.
So this is, I know you've got a Bible.
Yeah,
You have got a Bible, right? Yeah. Here's a Gospel of Mark, and it's got lots of commentary notes to help someone study the faith. So it's literally like, it just talks about the phrases.
Yeah, but I got like Bible Hub,
And then
that there's all the commentaries.
Well,
as
this is my
yeah.
gift to you.
Yeah, okay, I'll take it. But
To
I
help
thought
you
maybe
study
you
the
give
faith.
somebody who hasn't studied these kind of things. I do read
it,
Bible.
It
all
doesn't
the time.
help you to have more resources
Okay.
to learn about the Christian faith more.
Come after you.
Because if you're a sincere,
More resources to come after
because
you.
if you're a sincere searcher for truth,
Yeah.
then you want to delve into truth, do you not?
Yeah.
And I believe, Abbas, that you are a sincere searcher for truth.
I hope so.
I hope so. Me too. God knows best.
Yeah, good, yeah.
But I am sure that if you give Christianity a fair shake, and you take the time to understand Christianity in its own terms, you'll realize that it is the truth.
But what I'm saying is,
And I want to leave you with that
I'm
challenge.
I'm a Muslim.
Yeah.
I find nothing wrong in Islam. Something I don't find anything wrong. I have to have a good reason to leave it.
Yeah.
To go anywhere else.
And I think
So I
I-
find no reason to leave it. So I'm sorry. I can't take a chance to just try something else.
And I think I've given you a very clear evidence to leave Islam, which is that if your God uses logic that even you can recognize is fallacious to make an argument. If you can think better than your God, then the book that you're believing in is not from
I
God.
gave you a short answer, but next week
I don't believe it dealt with the problem.
I give you a detailed answer.
Great.
Next week.
We'll debate it next week.
We'll debate about
All right,
this.
you look after yourself, Abbas.
God bless you.
Take care.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, you got me for 1 minute.
1 minute. I've got 5 questions about Christianity in the
Let's do it here.